Okay, so we've talked about standard form of the equation of a line, ax plus by equals to c, so both variables are on one side of the equation and then the constants on the other. And graphing from standard form, it's usually the most efficient to identify the x and the y intercepts. So the point that would intersect the x-axis and would then have a y-coordinate of 0, and then the y-intercept would be the point that would intersect the y-axis and have an x-coordinate of 0. Okay, so let's actually graph a line that's in standard form. Okay, so this is the equation of a line that's in standard form. To find the x-intercept, we're going to think about setting y equal to 0. So I'll have 3x plus 2 times 0, because you're substituting 0 in for y, equals to 12. Did we already do this, Lucas?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we'll have 3x equals to 12, and now this is just an equation that you guys are familiar with solving. How would we finish isolating x on the left-hand side there? What would we do? Divide both sides of the equation by 3. So we'll end up with x is equal to 4, but we're not done. We got x equals to 4, but we are being asked to find the x-intercept, which we would represent as
4, 0.
4, 0 as the ordered pair, right? So the actual x-intercept is going to be the point 4, 0. Or if you want to put it up here, 4, 0. Okay, the y-intercept will be 0, something. So we can think about plugging 0 in for x. And then when we finish isolating y, we would think about dividing by 2. So we get y equals to 6, which means our y-intercept will be 0, 6. 2 points define a line, so we can just think about plotting each of those points. So 4, 0 on the x-axis, right? X-axis, y-axis. 4, 0 and 0, 6. And then we can just draw the line that passes through those 2 points. Bam, we're done. Okay, why don't you guys do the next one? Find the x-intercept and the y-intercept represent as ordered pairs. Plot those 2 points and draw the line that passes through them. And then check your answer. Since there's only 3 of you, why not all 3 of you check your answers with each other?
Forgot how to do it when there's like 2 variables.
We just did it though, right? So like up here, remember, an x-intercept means that the y-coordinate would be 0. So you're plugging 0 in for y and solving for x. A y-intercept, the x would be 0, so you're plugging 0 in for x and then solving for y. So you're solving for the variable that goes along with, like x-intercept, you're solving for x.
Yeah.
Y-intercept, you're solving for y. Okay. He's back. Are they your sunglasses, or did somebody random give you their sunglasses?
It's mine, but I didn't know I had it in my backpack. So I was like, why not?
Do you have to wear them in here too?
Yeah.
I can turn the lights off if you want. Does that help?
Yeah.
I used to, so the reason I have the lights up is because I used to get migraines all the time. And they were triggered by the lighting in here, like in different rooms. They ended up switching out my lights so it wasn't so bad. But like anytime I would like have the lights off, kids would come in and be like, uh-oh, Storsa has a headache again. Are you allowed to participate? Or you just kind of are absorbing? You're sitting and absorbing. Okay. I'm recording this, so I'll share it with you and to Owen. So once you are improved, you can watch it.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll send you the notes.
Okay.
Did you guys get your x and your y intercepts?
Yeah.
Elliot, what'd you get for your x-intercept?
4, 0.
Okay. Lucas, what'd you get for your y-intercept?
0, -8.
I agree. Okay, so then just plotting each of those points. So 4, 0, 0, -8, and then just drawing the line that passes through those 2 points. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay, now you don't technically, like this is kind of where I disagree from, I don't disagree, like it's allowed. But the textbook, this entire section, they don't even mention x or y intercepts. But all they basically have you doing from standard form is thinking about making table of values, which you technically could do. Like all you need to do is think about finding 2 points that would satisfy the equation, meaning like 2 ordered pairs that if you plug in the x and the y together would make the left-hand side of the equation equal to the right-hand side of the equation, and you could plot those points and you'd have your line. So let's do this let's not use intercepts. Let's think about choosing an x value and then finding the y, and then for funsies, we'll also think about choosing a y value. So let's think about a value. Let's keep it between 0 and 10, or let's keep it between -10 and 10, I should say. Vihan, give me a value for x between -10 and 10 that we want to use. 1. So let's say x is equal to 1. So that would mean for y, we're going to plug 1 in for x and then solve for y. So like from here, we could think about subtracting by 4 on each side of the equation. So this would turn into 3y equals to 5. So then y would end up being equal to 5/3. That's fun to graph, but that's fine. So this would be the point 1, 5/3 would lie on the graph of 4x plus 3y equals to 9. We could even go down and go ahead and try and approximate the position of that point. So 1, 5/3. So 5/3 as a mixed number would be what? 1 and 2/3. Yeah, 1 and 2/3. And that's a little bit easier for like thinking about what the y coordinate would be. So what, 1, 1 and 2/3, I don't know, like about there. Does that seem like it would be an okay approximation? I'm going to label it 2 since it is kind of an approximation. So 1, 5/3. And then, Elliot, why don't you give me a value for y that we would want to use?
8.
8. So let's plug 8 in for y. Are we going to be off our graph? We'll see. So if we were to plug in 8 for y, that would be 4x plus 3 times 8 is 24. You guys help me out with the mental math here. Subtracting 24 on each side of the equation. What's 9 minus 24?
15.
-15?
Yeah.
Okay, so then dividing by 4, we would get x equals to negative 15/4. These are fun. Okay, so negative 15/4, comma, 8. Again, it might be helpful to think about the mixed number for our x coordinate. How would we write negative 15/4 as a mixed number?
3 and 3/4.
Negative 3 and
Yeah,
3/4. Are we okay with that? How we went from improper fraction? If it's bugging you in here, like being around this, you can go take a break.
I'm fine.
Okay. You look really cool.
Thank you.
So negative 3/4, comma, 8. Negative 3 and 3/4. So negative 3 and 3/4, and then 8 would be like up here. Right, so that's negative 15/4, comma, 8. Try my best to draw that line. There we go. Yeah, and like if we wanted to double check really quickly, we're like, did we find the right values? Like I could see that the x-intercept here, if we set y equal to 0, we would get x would be 9/4, comma, 0. And then the y-intercept would be 0, comma, 3. Does that look like that worked out? 0, 3, yeah, that looks like that's our y-intercept. And then 9/4 would be 2 1/4. Does that look like that worked out? Yeah. 2 1/4 right there. Right, there are infinitely many points that lie on a line. Like, so there are infinitely many ordered pairs that you could technically come up with in order to graph a line. You just have to identify 2. Usually the easiest to come up with would be the x and the y-intercept. Questions? How confident, when you guys previously studied, this is an interesting class because you guys have all like previously studied a lot of this information. How confident did we feel on lines when we previously studied algebra? Good, like pretty confident? Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. I might try and pick up the pace a little bit. Okay, let's talk about horizontal and vertical lines. Okay, we've talked about x and y intercepts, so let's talk about horizontal and vertical lines from the standard form of an equation perspective. Like if we were to think about letting a equal to 0 in this equation for standard form, look at what would happen, right? We'd have by equals to c, where then if we think about dividing each side of this equation by b, we would get y equals to c over b, which isn't this just a constant? Do we know what a constant is? Like just a number? It's just a real number. So y equals to a constant, which is y up here. I have a horizontal line. I forgot to type line. That should say horizontal lines. Are of the form y equals to c. And if you come over to this xy plane and you think about graphing a horizontal line, because I think most people have an understanding of like what a horizontal line looks like. Like what does a horizontal line look like? What's a horizontal? Yeah, like just straight across. If you were imagining walking along the graph, you'd feel like you're walking on a flat road. Okay, so like if we think about a horizontal line, like I drew this horizontal line, And I think about identifying points on this line, like this would be -3, 6. This would be 0, 6. This would be 4, 6. So no matter what the x value is, and if we go back to standard form here, this makes sense. No matter what we think about the x value being, y always ends up being equal to 6. So like the equation of this line would be y equals to 6. Like in standard form, you wouldn't do that. Like there wouldn't be a good reason to do this. But in standard form, you could think of that as 0x plus y equals to 6. Like that's technically standard form. Whereas y equals to 6, technically standard form. In one way, you could think of that. And then similar idea for vertical lines, like if we thought about b in standard form being equal to 0, we would have ax equals to c. Thinking about dividing by a, we would have c over a, which again is just a constant. And vertical lines, I think you guys also have a okay understanding of like what a vertical line would look like. And if you think about any point that lies on a vertical line, like this one in particular, I'd have 4, 3, 4, 0, -3, 4. So while we think about, oops, nope, that's not right. Sorry, 4, -3. So while we think about the y values varying, like changing, the x value stays constant. Meaning this line can be represented as x equals to 4, or if you thought about it in standard form, you could think about having x plus 0y is equal to 4, right? Like so for any y value, x just ends up being equal to 4 because you could think about y being multiplied by 0. So why don't you guys take a moment, go ahead and sketch all of these horizontal and vertical lines and maybe label each of those equations as being horizontal or vertical. So take a moment to do that and then we'll compare.
Can I get a water?
Sure. You're not playing today, right?
No.
So does that mean you're not excused early either?
I'm pretty sure I am, but I don't know.
Okay. So you're identifying whether the equation of the line is vertical or horizontal, and then you're graphing it and labeling it. You're just graphing each of those lines, and you're identifying if they're horizontal or vertical.
Like x, oh.
Do we have it, you guys? Do Do we agree? It's the end of the day, so make sure you check my work.
All of this.
All the same? Okay, and then the last part of this lesson, so you guys are going to have time. You could potentially get your homework done before the weekend here, your long weekend. So remember, we said that all linear equations, like all equations that represent the graphs of lines, can be written in this form of ax plus by equals to c. And just pointing out, notice that, here I'll use a brighter color. Notice that x is raised to the first power and y is raised to the first power, like an exponent of 1. So being able to identify whether an equation represents a line, like is a linear equation, is also a skill that you need to be familiar with. So let's go through together. Why don't we just circle the ones that represent lines that are linear equations? So 6x plus 10y equals to 5. Does that represent a linear equation or no?
Yes.
Yes. I will circle. Yes. X squared minus 3y equals to 8. Why?
Because of the next one.
Because of this exponent of 2, right?
Makes it curved.
It does. It makes it more of a curved graph, which we will study later this year. Okay. What about y equals to negative x plus 10? Not in standard form, but
Slope-intercept.
it is in slope-intercept form. Thinking ahead to next week. So yes, this is a line. X and y are both raised to the first power. Line or not a line?
C. No.
Not a line?
Yeah.
Why?
Because of the next one.
Does anybody know what that graph does represent?
It's a graph.
It's not a parabola. See how the y is also? It's not exponential. This is actually something that we call an ellipse.
Oh, because it's 2?
It's
There's
an
two?
ellipse. The x and the y are squared, so it would actually be an ellipse, which looks like kind of like a stretched out circle.
I knew that.
Okay.
Is
Kind
that
of.
where the point would be? Those 2 darker red dots, is that where the point would be on that, like, hypothetically?
Well, there would be infinitely many points, but this, well, because if we divide by 2, oh no, you know what? It would be the other way. It would be this way.
Okay.
But that doesn't have infinite. What does it have? Infinite?
I'm sorry, what?
It doesn't have infinitely many points, right?
Yeah, it does.
It does?
It does. Look, do you want to look at Desmos, what it would look like? 2x squared plus y squared equals to 4. Oh no, what's the other way? Because if I divide by 2, oh, I see. I would have 2 in the denominator. I was right the first time. Brain fart there. I was right the first time. So it would be like this. Here. What's your question, Vihan?
It would have infinitely many points if it doesn't keep going.
It does have infinitely many points. Like every single value between negative root 2 and root 2, like every single x value between negative root 2 and root 2 has a y value, at least one y value that goes with it. So there are, like if you think about tracing going around, like there are infinitely many points. Just like you could think about between 0 and 1, there's infinitely many real numbers on that interval. So there's infinitely many points that would lie on that interval. Next one's kind of tricky. Line or not a line?
Line.
What do you think?
Because if you put like if you like subtract the x, oh no line. Actually,
If you
Yeah.
subtract the x and the y that's
It would be-
together,
it would be a
then could you have
vertical.
y equals x plus b?
it would be a.
But then you would have an x and a y. Remember how you think about combining like terms? Like x, y could not combine with that x that's on the other side of the equation. Or like if you subtracted x from each side, you would just have minus x plus xy minus y. So here's what I'm saying. Like if you use the strategy of getting into standard form, this is what you would have. Because x, y, and x, or negative x, are not like terms. So this is actually not linear. It is not the equation of a line. And it's because of this term here. You would actually, if you were to try and get this into y equals form, and I'm just going to show you this for funsies, you would think about factoring out, which is something that we would talk about in here soon. So you'd have x plus 1 on this side, and then you'd have y equals to x plus 1 over x minus 1. So it's actually a rational equation. I am not expecting you to do this. Like you can exit out if you even wrote it down, or you don't even have to write it down. But you should be able to identify that this is not the equation of a line, and that's because of this term here, the xy. Are we okay with that? Okay, last one. Line or not a line? Not the last one, sorry, my bad. Second to last one, line or not a line? Yes, line. We got an x raised to the first power, y raised to the first power. And the equation of this line is actually in the superior form of the equation of a line, known as point slope form. Okay, is that last one? Yeah, last one. Line, not a line.
No.
Not a line, because this guy right here and this guy right here, those exponents. So from this lesson, you should be able, if I present an equation to you in terms of x and y, determine if that equation represents a line or not. You should be able to graph a vertical or horizontal line, or read the graph of a vertical or horizontal line and come up with its equation. You should be able to, given the equation of a line in standard form, either think about creating a table of values, like if a table of values is given to you and you have to solve for specific x and y values, you should be able to fill that in using your equation solving skills that you currently have in your toolbox. Or you can think about, if you're left like, just graph this line. If it's in standard form, I would identify the x and the y intercepts, graph those 2 points. 2 points define a line, and you're done. Please do not move on. I tried to assign problems that were all associated with standard form. Next class, we will start discussing slope and then leading into slope intercept form, so we will get there. But for now, we are still in standard form. So you now have a whole, oh my goodness, 30 minutes, you guys. We could have covered like a whole nother section. You have a whole 30 minutes to start your homework or get your homework done.